Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic/Non-Classic. This is episode number 910 and Doubleshot number 804. I got two Marvel trades, both of them cosmic related. First up is an original Marvel graphic novel. What is this one? Thanos, the Infinity Revelation. Written and drawn by his creator, Jim Starlin. Yeah, of course, he's the one that does this awesome cover. And this is something apparently Jim Starlin loves to do. He loves close-ups of Thanos' face. Yeah, now in this particular story, Thanos realizes though there are certain changes that are made to the timeline whenever he gets resurrected. Of course, he's been killed off many times over the years. Of course, there's also having a guest star appearance by the Annihilators. Who are these people? So you might ask. They're a group of people formed by Cosmo the Space Dog to pretty much continue the legacy that Star-Lord left to having a group of cosmic heroes work together to protect the universe. Well, mostly the galaxy anyways, in the absence of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And the group is consisted of, and you're not going to believe this, now they do have one original character for this lineup. Yeah. But pretty much everybody else, they're long-established characters. Of course, you also see the return of Adam Warlock. Yeah, though after this story, I think he appears in a few other Jim Starlin stories that comes after this one, but he doesn't do very much. Okay, the lineup for this group is the following. Once I get to the page here, because I know for a fact there's a page here for this. That shows up all the members of the Annihilators. Okay, the Annihilators are consisted of this woman, Ikena, who actually, believe it or not, is in love with Quasar. Yeah, there he is, the original Quasar. This is before he gave up the title of Quasar to that new character Nick Spencer created, which nobody's done anything with that character at all. We also have Runa the Accuser, Gladiator, Beta Ray Bill, and the Silver Surfer. Yeah, it's a really good lineup, and this was actually, like I said, formed by Cosmo the Space Dog right after the events of the Thanos Imperative, which saw the collapse of the Cancerverse, which has since come back in the final issues of Sean Ryan's brief run for Nova, a run that went nowhere. Yep. Well, I gotta say, this is actually a fun book to read, and it's really, really good. I do highly recommend this. People are fans of Thanos, and also people are fans of Jim Starlin, because the artwork in here is really good. Because, okay, it's Jim Starlin, and Thanos is here. What other character shows up in his books? Excuse me, why Pip the Troll? Yeah, he shows up here too. Drax shows up here, though this isn't a flashback, mind you. They also have a past version. They also have like two different versions of. They have present day Adam Warlock and a past version of Adam Warlock. They mention Magnus in here, and it just seems like Jim Starlin just basically is having fun with this, and it's a really good read. I highly recommend. Give this book a 9.5 out of 10. It's really good. You know how much this book? I got this book from Ollie's. Yeah, I was surprised they had this book, and I got this book for roughly, I think it was like $5.99 for a book that was originally $25. Yeah, basically I got it for $20 less than this thing, and this only came out roughly about 5 years ago. And fun fact, the last time the Annihilators appeared prior to this one shot was actually 2 years prior in their second miniseries, Annihilators Earthfall. And those of you curious though, who created this group? I mean, in story it was Cosmo Space Dog. In actuality, it was Dan Abnett. Yep, one of the co-creators of the modern-day Guardians of the Galaxy. Not the future version that was created back in the late 60s by Arnold Drake, the present-day version that was used for the Guardians of the Galaxy films. Yep, that guy created them. Starlin himself would do follow-ups to this. There's like Infinity Revolution, there's the Infinity Effect. Yeah. Of course, the story also continued from the miniseries Thanos vs. Hulk, which is a fantastic miniseries. One of two miniseries I can think of where it has verse Thanos in it. The other, of course, is Deadpool vs. Thanos. Of course, that one's done by Tim Seeley. But Hulk vs. Thanos, that was done by Jim Starlin. Yeah. This would lead to at least another one-shot, a mini-series, and let's see. Oh yeah, this also would plant seeds for. Also, chronologically, this book takes place before the events of Infinity. Yeah, the event that Jonathan Hickman did. As of this year, it's been 6 years, surprisingly, since that particular event happened. It's a great event. I've read it. It's really good. But this chronology takes place before that because that's the first appearance of Credible Glove, who was one of the founding members of the Black Order, which they have their miniseries right now. Alright, next up is something that. This was created back in the late 70s that was brought back thanks to Secret Wars with a miniseries and a following ongoing series that was canceled 6 issues. What series is this? Weird World! The Warriors of the Shadow Realm. No, it has nothing to do with Yu-Gi-Oh! This is something well before the events of Yu-Gi-Oh! Before the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime came out, because when people think of the Shadow Realm, people think of Yu-Gi-Oh! Mostly the 4Kids dub. Yeah, this was something that Doug Moa created back in the late 1970s. Yeah, it's basically a series of stories that's collected that's from these following books. Marvel Super Action #1, the same book that also had the. Yeah, I believe this one was also has the origin story of the Punisher. Marvel Premiere #38, Marvel Fanfare 24-26. I'll talk about this in a minute. Marvel Super Special 11-13. And Epic Illustrated 9 and 11-13. See these two in the cover? They're the main character series. Their names are Tidal and Valina. Tidal is the boy, Vendo is the girl. Also, when they had the character of Vanilla show up, she was butt naked. Yep. Now, some of you probably think, look at these characters. They look like kids. They're elves. And they look like. I mean, the size-wise, they look like little kids. They're probably a little bit older because, well, if you look at Valina, she looks like a full-grown woman, basically. She looks like a woman probably in her 20s, I'd say. I'd say she could be in her mid to late teens, I'd say. Yeah, and she's basically, her function is Tayo's love interest. They date the whole time, and of course, after these stories wrapped up, these characters were never seen again. Until James Robinson decided to make them appear in the first arc for his run for Squadron Supreme. Which that series ended roughly, I think it was like about 2 years ago? Yeah. Now the thing with Marvel Fanfare, I spoke to Peter Giles about this series. Yeah, the thing with this 60-issue comic book is that they're basically stories that laid in a drawer at Marvel Comics for years that apparently someone decided to use as published for an ongoing series. Yeah, they're basically unpublished stories. That was the whole purpose of the series. And people would bring these issues to them because you're probably thinking, okay, they probably did this prior to like a lot of the other books. Nope. They were scripts that basically laid in Marvel Comic drawers for years that basically published an ongoing series. Excuse me. The Marvel Super Special, with the exception of the 3 issues in here, and issue 10, which featured appearance by Star-Lord, a lot of the time this book was simply meant to be adaptations of films. Like there was an adaptation of Sgt. Pepper and the Lonely Heart Club Band, which Linkara did for his 400th episode review, which was the 8th Marvel Super Special, and it was never released over here. Why? Because the film bombed at the box office. This was also an adaptation of Close Encounters of the 9. This issue is featuring Kiss. The final issue was also noteworthy for the adaptation of the Howard Duck film. Yeah, it was simply put adaptations of films. Yeah, this also the first Star Trek film was adapted for an issue for this series. Yep. Now, these stories are pure fun to read, and these are the artists they have for this series. Now, I should point out that these issues came out from these following years. 1976 to 1977, 1979, 1981, 82, and 86. Yep, and these are the artists. Now, the first few stories in here, which are An Ugly Mirror in Weird World, The Lord of Tyre's Quest, and The Wereman of Lord Raven. All these books, the artwork was done by Mark Plong. The Marvel Fanfare issues were also drawn by not only Mike Pond, but also Pat Broderick. The Marvel Super Special issues, and of course Epic Illustrated, was done by John Buscema. By the way, this guy is a much better artist than Sal Buscema, and this is his brother. Yeah, I looked it up. This guy is a much better artist. Yeah, because I know Sal Buscema's artwork. If anybody's ever seen his artwork, the guy got lazy in his later years. Yeah. Here's John Buscema's artwork. Like, I saw this, I'm like, wow, why can't Sal Buscema draw this good? This is just so good artwork. Yeah. It has a similar feeling of Alex Ross's artwork. His artwork is have a painted style. Yeah. I gotta at least praise the fact that John Buscema basically draw characters look really good instead of have their mouths open a lot of the time and look really lazy. This is really good. I do recommend this to people who are curious about the Weird World ongoing series that was published back just a few years ago. That was unexpectedly canceled after 6 issues. Yeah, Mike Del Mundo, who by the way is the artist for the Savage. I think he's the artist right now for the Conan Barbarian series written by Jason Aaron, which Jason Aaron did write Weird World, by the way, which make perfect sense he do that. Yep. So when they brought back Weird World, they did it the most unusual way possible when they brought this back. Yeah, they had it where it's in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle, which that makes some sense, but it's a weird place to put it. Of course, that's Weird World for you. But yeah, I give this book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. It's really good. Yeah, it has that feeling of, if anybody's ever at ElfQuest, it's a similar feeling to this, but it's its own thing. And plus, it's sort of a feeling of rip-off of partially Lord of the Rings. Yeah, except there's no major quest in here that I can tell, but yeah, but it has that similar feeling to that of, it seems like when Doug Moore created this series, he was going for like Lord of the Rings, let's see, Conan the Barbarian, which actually was just, at the time this was being published, yeah, it was actually just a few short years after the Conan the Barbarian series started back in the 70s, when it was written by Roy Thomas. Let's see, what else I can tell this was kind of similar to, I can't honestly think of anything else. It's just that this is actually really good, and yeah, I basically recommend people who are fans of the writer Doug Moak, or Doug Monk, or something, or whatever people call him. But the only reason I call him Doug Moak is because that is how Jim Starlin told me how to say the name, and according, not Jim Starlin, Jim Shooter. Yeah, because I met Jim Shooter. Yeah, he says that the reason why that they call himself that because he is actually German. Yes, Doug Moak is German, and he told people to pronounce his name that way, his last name. Some people might pronounce him as Doug Monk or Malik, but it's Moak. Yes, all because Jim Shooter. He's the one who told me to pronounce it that way, so I've been pronouncing it ever since then. Ever since I met Jim Shooter. Yeah, and he was also the editor-in-chief at the time these issues came out. Yeah, he was the editor-in-chief as far as I could tell, right? Yeah, I believe he was. Let's see. I believe he was. Let me look at the opening issue here. I believe he was the editor-in-chief at this point. I have to take a look at, but I believe he was. No, it was Archie Goodwin was the editor of this book. I believe he was. I believe he was editor. I think it was just prior to his start of tenure as editor in chief at Marvel Comics. Yeah, this is also something that nobody talks about. I've never heard anybody ever talk about Weird World aside from the ongoing series. When I saw this, I'm like, cool. And it's actually really good. Yeah, but that's the thing about Weird World is that people will talk about the recent stuff Weird World, but not the original. Mhm. If I make Doug Mohawk, I'm bringing this book for him to sign because I've never met this guy at all, and apparently here's something kind of weird about him. I looked up online, and apparently his last comic that he wrote came out roughly 18 years ago. Actually, 19 years ago. Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, because apparently the last comic he published was he wrote came out back in the year 2000. Yeah, that's the weird thing. It seems like he just hasn't done much of anything at all. I mean, this is a guy who's well respected. I haven't heard much of anything what he's done lately. Yeah, he's not published any books as far as I can tell. He's not been asked to write some Bat book because for a lot of people, he's generally a Batman writer because he wrote Batman for a long period of time. He wrote Batman for a good like almost 20 years. Yeah, he started writing back in the mid 80s and didn't stop writing until like around 2000. He wrote it for a long time. Yep. So yeah, not much else to say, but fun set of stories to read. It just one thing I appreciate with this trade, it collects the entire original serial for Weird World, everything, the entire thing. But here's the thing: this came roughly back, I think it was 2015, I believe it was. This came out, right? Let's see. Yeah, 2015, which pretty much this was released as probably because, well, the Weird World ongoing series just started, and Marvel just released it so people are curious exactly what came before. Though a lot of the time people might ignore this because of the price tag, because the original price tag for this thing was $35. I picked this up for $7.99, but I still got my good money's worth because this is actually really good. Okay. Yeah, so that's it for this particular review. I have two more reviews coming. What I'm going to do next, okay? And that'll be My Hero Academia, okay? But do the next few. Bye.